Is it disappointing that all these guys that you count on couldn't make it work? Yeah, it's disappointing. But I have full faith that they're going to be ready to go at a certain point, and they're going to give everything they got for their teammates.
Mike, how big a deal to have Patty Neufeld back practicing now?
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to have him there and in the lineup so everybody gets used to playing with each other again, that's for sure. But he's one of those seasoned vets that has seen it all. So I imagine he'll be ready, but it's nice to have that voice and that experience.
You'll say of certain guys they don't need reps. Do you literally mean that, or they just don't need a ton of reps?
Well, some guys don't need any. I think for an offensive line it's a little different. I think the padded contact, you could use that for sure. I think I would think in the trenches you can always use reps with pads on where you're making contact, yeah, that position for sure. But other positions, sometimes they don't need any reps.
I was talking to 𝘽𝙤𝙤𝙧𝙚 today. What's your impression of his first season in the CFL?
My impression of his first season?
Yeah, last year.
Yeah, I thought it was excellent. I thought he came in once again and he was, a pro well beyond his years.
How are his receiving skills? I was asking about the final play of the Grey Cup, and he was happy to be that part of Canadian football.
Yeah, I mean, he's a terrific athlete. Where he comes from and the sports they play over there, his hand-eye and athleticism is top-notch.
And if you would, just your reaction to Jerian Grant signing with the Argos.
Yeah, he's a very good player. He deserves to be playing, right? So, from our side, you just, every year you can't sign everybody. Perfect.
Just follow up a little bit on 𝘽𝙤𝙤𝙧𝙚. A bit disappointing that you guys couldn't make it work with him.
I think anytime we lose a guy, I'm disappointed.
Sure.
But
You really liked him, didn't you?
hell yeah. I think if you were to talk to our group, they would say I like everybody and want everybody back.
Sure. Yeah. So. Fans, of course, will want to know why. It's just safe to say financial constraints. You can't bring them all back, is it?
There's always a bunch of reasons.
Yeah. Okay. Just a quick thought too on your FIFO mantra. I know it's largely player-driven now. It's got the last two words, kind of a threatening aspect to it. What makes it not threatening, though, the way the players kind of govern that?
I don't know what you're talking about. Some things are meant to stay in-house. Some things are meant to stay in-house.
We all talk about it.
Sure. Doesn't mean I have to.
So no Brady, no Nick, no BA. Patty just came back. Adam Bighill's on the 6th game. Am I missing anybody?
It's probably more.
Jamal Parker. I'm just wondering, is this unique? Or is this obviously guys are banged up, but is this, you've been in a lot of camps, is this a unique amount of key guys out, or is this part of the learning process?
Once again, I'm not probably comparing it to others. That's a great question for Al, to compare it from one year to the next. Is it disappointing that all these guys that you count on couldn't make it work? Yeah, it's disappointing. But I have full faith that they're going to be ready to go at a certain point, and they're going to give everything they got for their teammates.
Is it concerning as a coach, like when you're eyeballing week one, that, and you
No.
mentioned these guys weren't,
No.
is it? No. A lot of these, you have a whole off season. Is it bad luck that guys are showing up at camp?
I'm not with them every day in the off season, so I don't know what they do or don't do, but they're pros. They'll figure it out, and they'll be ready when they're ready. And I'm sure, once again, when they get in the lineup, they'll compete as hard as they possibly can.
I know you'll never rule anybody out, but how promising does the situation look on having some, all, somewhere in between?
Yeah,
those guys back
there's a bunch of them will be back for the first game.
Picture will be a lot clearer.
Yep.
for Patty, talking to him about obviously the tryout on the right tackle position, him playing right guard, how much, and he answered that question, but as a coaching staff, how much are you going to be leaning on him to ensure that that tackle's ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's important that he gets in there, because he's missed, a whole pile of camp of being beside the guy, right? So, yes, it's imperative that the guys work together, all 5, 6, 7 at times for us. But the guy the guard beside the tackle, that relationship is pretty important.
Mike, one more on the kick return thing. Have you seen enough to think that you've got an answer in-house here? Or
Yep. Yep.
what are the signs? What do you need to see? Because it's a position that you have to...
It starts with how they field it, how they field footballs, mostly from the punt side of it, right? Those are harder to catch than any kickoff or a missed field goal are pretty easy to field. You and I can field those ones, right? It's how do they catch punts? Those are trickier. Just their confidence in doing that. For the guys that are new to the CFL, it's just how quickly do they pick up the nuances of the game and the instructions they're given. So, yeah, and then they all have the ability to. They've all shown return ability, or we wouldn't have them back there. So,
Does it come down to Friday night for that spot?
yeah, I think so.
And just what's the key then to locking it down? Is it be clean and what?
Yeah, clean ball security would be big. Sometimes it could be hard to evaluate, right? You're hoping that they get, well punted balls, right? That they can field and get going on, right? Once again, it's easy to get them a kickoff return, get space where they can move. But if they're able to get some clean looks at punt returns, then you can sort of evaluate them a little more. You get a better look at a guy.
Just one more on that. Is it possible it could be 2 people because they are 2 kind of different skill sets?
I don't think the roster really allows for that. There are guys that do one better than the other, but for the most part, I don't think the roster really allows for that.
Tricky thing to evaluate, right? Because they get a handful of them in the game one night.
Mhm.
1 million reps to watch
Mhm.
on tape. So just making a guy miss, how important is that skill?
It's part of it. I don't think it's the be-all and end-all. It's part of it. We were around a guy, there's a pile of really good returners that I'd been around, and some of the ones you like the best are the ones that just go north hard. Chuck Winters, nobody would talk about him as a returner necessarily, except his teammates that loved the way he did it, right? He was getting every inch he could out of it. Mm-hmm.
He sacrificed the breakaway touchdown threat, maybe. For that.
Yeah, maybe, but once again, a lot of guys do it in different ways.
Area the best in the league because 8 touchdowns and 40-something regular season game.
I think in the last little while, there's been some really, really good ones. Janarian would be one of them, and for us at the time, yeah, he was terrific, and he was right on time with a lot of them. Yeah.
Is it more on the returner or the guys in front blocking?
Oh, it's both. It's both. Yeah.
But good runner make up for bad blocking, or is it bad blocking make up for not so great running? Is it both?
I think the question is,
Which
yeah.
one cleans up more?
Well, you want a good returner.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.